In previous videos, I've talked about how you value land, and in this video what I want to do is to just identify some of the pitfalls that you may come across in that process. I cover this in my book, You a Property Developer, which I'm currently offering for free, just the price of postage and packaging. I'm actually down to the last 6 copies, so I'm waiting for more from the printers. So if you'd like a copy, I would grab it now. Go to youapropertydeveloper.com in order to get a copy of that book. So briefly, what I would like to do is just talk about the process of valuing land, which I've covered before. So we start with the GDV. This is the value of the site when it's completed, built out. So say there was 4 houses, the total value of those 4 houses, what they would sell for. And then what we do is we take off our profit, which is generally going to be initially 25% of gross development value, because that's our build profit. We would then actually, within that figure, take off a further figure to make sure that we're covering for our gaining of the planning permission, because of course we recommend that you buy off-market sites. So in order to do that, you should be making a substantial profit on that. There's plenty of profit there. Don't let anybody tell you that there isn't, between what the landowner's current value of that land is worth and what it is going to be worth once you achieve the planning on it. So you would take your profit off, and then you would have all your costs. And we break those down into 2 different types of costs. We talk about development costs, which is everything apart from the physical building, and then the build cost, which is the build itself. And then that, when you take those 2 figures, deduct it from there, this gives you your land value. Now, of course, that is very simplistic. When we look at the costs, and as I said, we've got build costs and we've got development. So first of all, let's look at build costs. So within the build cost, you've got your physical building. Essentially, once you get out of the ground, your costs are fairly assured. Now, here's the first pitfall: getting out of the ground, because no 2 sites are the same. So depending on what the ground conditions are, whether you've got some soft land, whether you've got hard land, you've got clay, depending on what the makeup of that ground is, will affect the cut foundations that you put in there. So you may be able to have very simple foundations, which will be strip foundations, or you may have to have more complex foundations like raft foundations if there's a lot of soft ground there. Now, that's the first part of the foundations. However, the second place that can trip you up with the foundations is when you actually come to do the build itself, because in reality, what you've done before actually determining what the foundations is, you will have done some test bores around the site, and that will have determined what type of foundations that you are going to put in there. And so they're only trial pits. Until you actually dig into the ground, you can't be absolutely certain. So I've had situations where we've maybe had to come up just a block higher on a development, which doesn't seem like an awful lot, but that could add several thousands of pounds to that, because you've got the labor costs, you've got the material costs that need to, and then you've probably got some more muck that has to be taken away. So there's various cost implications there. So you've got, just to recap that, you've got 2 areas there. You've got the foundations being determined before you actually start the build, and then they determined once you have started the build. Once you get beyond that and the foundations are in place, all the rest of the costings pretty much run to budget. So you need to have a contingency there for those foundations perhaps not living up to what you expected them to be. Now, within that, you've got then the specification of the actual build itself. So within that, so you've got 2 different things. You've got what type of construction are you going to have? Are you going to have traditional block? Are you going to have timber frame? Or are you going to have one of the other methods of construction? So that will affect your costs. The second area is how you specify the particular outside of the house. So what are you having? Are you having a render, smooth render, wet dash render? Are you having a dry dash render? Are you having a smooth render? Are you putting cladding? Are you doing stonework? They will have cost implications in the value of what it's going to cost you to build that house. And these are things that are specified in the design part of the actual project. So that's the external. Internal, then what are the finishes? What type of kitchen you're going to put in? What type of bathroom are you going to put in? What's the proportion of bathrooms to the square meterage? So you can have two identical square meterages, but they can have vastly different costs. And this is why when you see these posts on Facebook, how much does it cost to build a house in the UK? It is such a ridiculous proposition, because you cannot determine. All these different factors come into it. So that's the build cost element that we talk about. Then we come into the development costs. And these development costs, again, can be different from what you expect. So you find a piece of land, it requires planning permission, and you start the planning process. You then submit your planning application with the different elements of that. You've had structural engineer look at the ground, and they've kind of recommended the type of foundations. They've determined how you're going to dispose of your surface water, how you're going to dispose of your foul water, and all those different aspects have been then considered. You submit the application, and then the planners come back and they say, we want this report, we want an ecology report, we want a bat survey report, we want an environmental impact, we want to know what the noise is in the particular area, is there a noise impact. So even though you can fairly guess what these reports are going to be, you don't actually know what they are going to be until you actually submit the planning application. So again, there can be some surprises there. In addition to that, there will be certain things that when you first started looking at the site, there will be a whole bunch of things that you will have identified that either will or will not have cost implications. And we do actually have a plot checklist for you to be able to check that information out. And in order to do that, and again, I'll put a link in the description below for that, so that you can actually have a look and see what all the different cost implications. I think there's something like 54, 57, I can't quite remember how many we've got on that particular sheet. So all these things need to be taken into consideration to do with your development costs and your build costs. In order to actually come to the true valuation of your site. So I just wanted to give you those pitfalls, and if this is something that you're interested in, the first step I would suggest is get a copy of my book, You a Property Developer. But if you're a bit more serious than that and you know that this is something that you want to do and you perhaps want some help, then go to my website, which is builditandprosper.com, and there's some more information of different support levels that we have. Book a discovery call with me, and I'll be happy to see if this is a good fit for you, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. So that's kind of it for this video. Hope you found that useful. Remember to give it a like and share, and please subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any more valuable content coming up. There is over 200 videos already there, so there's plenty of information there for you to consume. Until the next time, take care, and I look forward to speaking to you then. Bye bye.